Hello everyone, so we're going to move on to activity 4 and 5 now. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So far we have been discussing Mendelian genetics, and in this situation we discussed how if you received a dominant allele for brown eyes example, so a capital B, and a recessive allele for blue eyes, so a lowercase b, your genotype would be a capital B, lowercase b, and your phenotype would be brown eyes. So in these situations, the dominant allele is completely dominant, and that is what you see expressed. However, a lot of traits do not really follow Mendelian genetics. There are a lot of exceptions. Usually inheritance patterns are more complex than what Mendel had explained through his laws. Although they were a great start and they hold true for a lot of characteristics, they don't hold true for all characteristics. So first we're going to discuss incomplete dominance. So here the dominant allele is not completely dominant. And the best way to represent this example is using snapdragons. So in snapdragons, um, as we will see, if you have a snapdragon that has red flowers, so it's represented as 2 capital R's with this superscript of a 1, and you cross it with a white snapdragon, so it's still 2 capital R's, but you see this 2 here. If you were to cross that, essentially the offspring would have one of these alleles, the R1, and one of these alleles, the R2. However, the phenotype would not be either completely red or completely white. Instead, you see a mixed phenotype. You have this pink color. So that there is a third phenotype possible in incomplete dominance. So the heterozygote has a phenotype that is this R1, R2. This genotype that is R1, R2, and the phenotype is going to be an intermediate, somewhere between the dominant and recessive phenotype, or these two phenotypes shown here. So that is an example of incomplete dominance. An example of incomplete dominance in humans would be hair type. So here you could have, for example, one parent has curly hair, so it has HH, and one parent has straight hair, so it has 2 lowercase h's. The offspring would have one capital H, one lowercase h, and the phenotype would be wavy hair. Another exception to Mendelian genetics is codominance. So this is typically represented in cattle. So as you can see here, the purebred cattle is homozygous, and it has 2 capital R's. And the white cattle is also homozygous. It has 2 capital W's. When you cross these two together, you get this cattle which has both red and white hair. So the genotype would be RW. And here, as you can see, it's not mixed. So it's not a blend of this red and this white to make a lighter shade of red. It essentially has both this color and this color in its hair. And an example of this, so here both alleles are seen in the phenotype. Both the red hair and the white hair are seen in the phenotype. An example of this in humans would be blood type. So O blood type has these 2 recessive alleles, which are represented as these lowercase i's. So essentially, O blood type has no proteins on the red blood cell's surface. It's just the red blood cell. And type A, as you can see, has these A proteins on the cell surface. The genotype for type A blood could be represented in 2 ways. It could be capital IA, capital IA, so it's homozygous for the A type blood, or it could be capital IA, lowercase I, and here the recessive allele of the O type isn't shown, only the dominant allele is shown, which is the A blood type. The same thing is true for the type B blood, where you can have two homozygous alleles, which are represented as the capital IB, capital IB. So you would express these B proteins on the surface of your red blood cells, or you can have the genotype of a capital IB, lowercase I. In this instance, the dominant allele, the B protein, would still be expressed on the cell surface. And an example of codominance here in blood type would be the type AB blood. So here you have one allele for the A protein and one allele for the B protein, and on the cell surface of your red blood cell you see both A and B proteins expressed. And blood type is very important for blood banks. Knowing your blood type and knowing which blood you can accept as well as donate to is really important. So O blood type, since it has no proteins on its surface, it can only receive O blood type. However, O blood type can donate blood to any of these. It could donate to type A, B, or AB. So it's a universal donor, but it can only accept from O blood type. On the other hand, type A is it can receive blood from the O blood type because there's no proteins on the surface, so it won't freak out if it gets this O blood type. And it could also receive blood from this A blood type. So as you can imagine, if you tried to give this patient the type B blood, it doesn't have these proteins, these B proteins on the surface. So if it received that, it would essentially freak out and it doesn't work. Same thing of of someone with type A blood receive blood from a type AB blood individual, they can recognize these A proteins on the cell surface because they have those as well, so that's fine. But then they don't recognize these B proteins, so then once again their body is in shock and can't receive that blood type. So AB can only, or yeah, so that is how that would work. As you can imagine, AB can receive blood from both type A and type B. So if it receives from type A, it recognizes the A, everything's okay. If it receives from type B, it recognizes the B, so it's okay. And it could also receive from type O. So this is the universal acceptor, like it could accept any blood type, universal donor. So I'm going to have you guys watch this video on different types of dominance, so the exception to Mendelian rules or laws. And then I'm just going to quickly go over activity 5. I'm going to let you guys work on this on your own. So here you're going to be practicing if you were to breed your characteristics with a Avenger superhero, like this is the create a kid activity. So the first thing you have to do is determine your phenotype and genotype for several traits. So I filled this chart out according to my traits. So for my hair, my phenotype is wavy. So that means I have a genotype of a capital H, lowercase h, because remember this is an example of incomplete dominance. So I do not have a widow's peak. Since the widow's peak is dominant, I know that I have two recessive alleles of lowercase p. My eye color is brown. So here I don't really know my genotype. My genotype can be two capital B's or it can be a capital B, lowercase b. For the purpose of this exercise, go ahead and select the heterozygous genotype to represent you. So in this instance, since I have brown eyes, I'm going to pick the capital B, lowercase b for now. Since I have freckles, I'm going to pick the capital F, lowercase f. I could also be two capital Fs. I don't know that. This is information that we don't know just by looking at ourselves. But for the purpose of this exercise, go ahead and pick the heterozygous option. And then earlobes again, yes. So I'll be capital T, lowercase t. And this is all here determining what your genotype will be. Dimples, I don't have dimples. So I have two recessive alleles for dimples. Tongue rolling, yes, I can roll my tongue. So I picked the heterozygous example here. And for sex, I am a female, so that means I'm going to have 2 X chromosomes. If you are a male, you will use the XY chromosomes here. And then you will pick who you want to mate with. So if you are a female and you want to mate with a female, that's fine. Just change your XY chromosome for this activity. Same thing for a male. If you're a male and you want to mate with a male, that's fine. Just change your chromosomes for the purpose of this activity. So I'm going to go ahead and pick whichever, I guess, superhero I want to mate with, and I'm just going to, for the purpose of this exercise, pick Black Panther. So now this is his traits to those same questions that we just answered for ourselves. And then you would go to this chart and you would essentially determine the genotype of your firstborn child. So to do this, for hair, my genotype was a capital H, lowercase h. Since I'm heterozygous, I'm going to flip a coin. So I'm going to flip a coin. Of its heads, I'm going to write down the dominant trait here. Of its tails, I'm going to write down the recessive trait here. So I flip a coin, I get heads, so I'm going to put a capital H here. Let me go ahead and change this so it doesn't. So I'm going to put a capital H here. So then I go ahead and look at his genotype for hair, and he has curly hair, so he's 2 H's, so he can only donate the the dominant allele of a capital H. So the phenotype for our child would be curly. Okay, it's really hard to write with this. Should have tried it before I tried doing it on here. Okay, that is an R in case it looks like a K. So then we'll move down to freckles. Since I do have freckles, I am heterozygous once again, so I'll have to flip a coin. I flip a coin and I get the heads, so that's going to be the dominant trait, so I'm going to put a capital F here. And then I look at Black Panther's genotype for freckles. He has 2 lowercase f's. He has only the recessive allele, so he can only donate the recessive allele to our child. So that means our child will have freckles. And then you will just complete this all for your first child, and then you do the same thing for your second child. And for sex, since I am a female, I can only donate the X chromosome. Since he is a male, he can either donate an X or a Y chromosome, so you would decide X, heads is X, tails is Y. So if you flip a coin and you get tails, then that means he's going to donate the Y chromosome. And essentially, this is what you would do for both children. After that, I want you guys to read these slides on probability. So answer these questions, go through the lab manual, and then read these slides on probability. This is important for your guys' worksheet. There are some probability questions in your worksheet. Okay, and that'll be it for today.